All right, in between segments with the Magic Man, time for another top 5 list here on the Inside Wisconsin show, presented by Wisconsin Leaders in STEM, the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. UW-Platteville's exciting STEM programs make it a top university in Wisconsin and the Midwest region. In fact, UW-Platteville is ranked in the top 20 for regional universities in the Midwest. Find out more at uwplatt.edu. J.A., the floor is yours for this week's top 5.
I'm so excited about the top 5 because you finally let me here, John, you can do the top 5. Okay, great.
Sure.
So my first thought is, since it was odd that people didn't know that Don Mikowski probably don't remember he wore number 5. They all remember Paul Hornung. I thought, let's do the top 5 guys that have worn number 5 since Paul Hornung.
Okay.
Except there's only 4. So that's not going to work.
Can't do that.
Can't do that. Then I thought, okay, Fork Union, right? The Fork Union Military Academy. Let's go with 5 guys that played for the Packers that are notable that played at Fork Union. Which would be great, except there's only 4. So that's out.
Off to a hot start here.
All right. The tip of the cap, though, to John Dorsey and maybe Tyrone Williams. So then I thought, okay, how about top 5 in the passing yardage? Because Don is 6th.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's
pretty easy.
I thought even you can get that, right? Favre, Rodgers, Bart Starr, Lynn Dickey. And then I'd say, okay, the one you don't know is Tobin Rote, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Great.
So all those ideas suck, so I'm turning it back to you.
And I recommended, why don't we do the top? Jeez, they don't all suck, by the way. Just 4 and 4. And I would have got 3 of those, by the way. I wouldn't have guessed the guy that you said from the 90s and the 80s that was the quarterback.
Lynn Dickey?
Yeah, him. Yeah, I wouldn't have got that. But I would have got the other 3.
This saves me being disappointed in you, so that's good.
Well, it wouldn't be an episode if you weren't. All right. Top 5 plays from the eras before the Rodgers era. So I was thinking back to what are the top 5 plays from maybe the Favre era or maybe Mikowski himself that I recall like that. And I mentioned it to you. And of course, somewhere up here lived at least 5 plays that you're like, oh, boom, 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 boom. So I'm going to share my top 5 memories, my top 5 plays. Most of them, if not all of them, have something to do with the Brett Favre era, but that's my childhood. And I assume that you are pre-Brett Favre era. Yeah.
These are pre-Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Okay. And I will go pre-Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, as someone who grew up, there still might only be 4. But we'll see what we can piece together.
All right. So help me remember these 5 then, because I don't know who we were playing or where they were playing, but here's how I remember them. Number 5, the Lambeau Leap game, that Lambeau Leap play, right? Reggie with the pitch to Leroy Butler. That's number 5. Number 4, I can tell you exactly where I was sitting on the couch in the apartment in Johnson Creek when Antonio Freeman had that ball rest on his shoulder, and he flips over and grabs it and runs it in for a touchdown. Monday Night Football, right?
He did what? That was Al Michaels' call.
He did what? Yeah, man. Wow. I remember that vividly. That's number 4. Number 3, Favre had a rushing touchdown that sticks out to me. It was the last game, I believe, at County Stadium.
Okay.
Do you remember what I'm talking about? Where Favre, I remember him getting drilled at the goal line and did this weird kind of helicopter thing. I know that when we think helicopter touchdown, we think of Elway in Super Bowl 32.
Yeah.
Right. But I feel like there was a very memorable play, a rushing touchdown by Favre where he got drilled at the goal line. It was the last game at County Stadium. That much I know for sure. But that sticks in the old dome for some reason.
Yep,
maybe
that
you
one
can
I'm not as familiar
piece that
with.
together. Number 2, we want the ball and we're going to score. Sorry, Hasselbeck, but Al Harris had some other ideas. I remember that like this. I can just see him cruising down the sidelines, and didn't he stick up a finger like this is happening?
Off he went, little snowflake. It was everything a playoff game should be. It was fantastic. And Al, by the way, one of the great trades. The Packers don't do a ton of free agency. They don't do some of these. Al Harris, what a great career he had.
Sorry about it, Mr. Hasselbeck. And my number 1 memorable play, I have this vivid image of Sterling Sharp standing in the end zone. I was young when this happened. This had to have been like 92, 93, where he is standing alone in the end zone. I think he takes a pass from Favre, and all you see is a grin from ear to ear. Where was that? What was this? I have that memory.
That was the playoff game. Playoff game in Detroit. Got tight late, and he was. I always kind of a lot of times I use that on SportsCenter. Like guys are open, then there's wide open, and then there was Sterling Sharp.
Very open.
Like, how do you lose? I get that Favre had rolled the other way, right? He had rolled to his left. They were in the old Pontiac Silverdome, I think. I don't think Ford Field was there. He rolled left. Yeah, totally was the Silverdome. And so I get that not a lot of guys can make that throw, right? You got to be able to be a hoss. But still, how do you lose 84? Because he was just back there. And I think if memory serves, the Packers had lost the last game of the season to the Lions, and then that had to go to Detroit. Is that their first playoff game under Holmgren? Might have been their first playoff game under Holmgren.
Oh, interesting.
Holmgren. And then I think they got to, go lose to the Cowboys. But yeah, and he was just so, like you said. And then he just stood there in the back. He wasn't even arms weren't up. He just kind of stood there and just had this, a Cheshire cat grin. And there he was. And that was the ball game. And then really, we were on our way. And then Super Bowls followed.
Boom. And away we go.
Aaron Rodgers and then Jordan Love.
Yeah.
And then the Inside Wisconsin Show podcast.
Boom.
That started
doing well. It did. Clearly. All right. So now teach me about the 5 plays that I clearly know nothing about, other than I think I'm probably going to be able to remember or get one of these. But what are the ones you wrote down?
So, if you take my lifetime, that opens up a lot of plays, right? Because I was born in 1965. So technically I could do the Ice Bowl.
That's not on your list?
No.
Then I'm screwed. I have no idea.
How about by the way, this is a dumb aside because that's what I do. Do you remember the game the year before that, the championship game, and the great goal line stand the Packers made?
No.
Yeah. So they come out to an early 14 lead. They're at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Same thing. Don Meredith. And the Cowboys come all the way back, and now they're on like the 2 or 3 yard line with a chance to tie the game. And Don Meredith he rolls out, and Dave Robinson, Hall of Famer, 89, he goes charging through the line, and he goes and all but drapes himself over Don Meredith, and Meredith just throws it away, and it's a pick in the end zone, and the Packers preserve the victory. So literally both games came down. The one just happened to be minus 107 degrees and was played on a polar ice cap, so it's remembered more. But the other one, and then Dave Robinson tells a wonderful story that was not his assignment. He just kind of read the play and went after him. He was supposed to be in coverage, and so he made the game-winning play, and he said in film study, I got a -2 from Lombardi because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do.
Oh, my gosh.
So none of those plays are the plays, though. So here we go.
All right.
Number 5, against the Cowboys, Packers playoff game, 82. They go down to Dallas. And this one, even though they got beat, it was actually competitive, and there was a great end around by James Lofton. Eddie Lee Ivory had it. He goes 71 yards, pulls him really close later in the third quarter, I think it was. But it's just, to me, there was nothing better than to watch James Lofton run. Like, he was literally a gazelle.
Yeah.
Paul Kaufman,
I do have an image.
Right? Yeah. So just watching him, and for 71 yards, to watch him go on this end around, and you're just like, oh my gosh, he is just to run one day in your life like that and go, look how athletic that dude is, right? You're just like, that guy is special. So that's number 5.
Okay.
Number 4, forgive me, I have 2 field goals on the list. Number 4 was the kick that was missed by Mark Mosley. Monday Night Football, the Packers win 48-47. And the big play, by the way, Mark Murphy on that Washington secondary.
Oh, yeah. That's the one that they don't ever want to talk about, right?
One of the great games in Monday Night Football history. It was only recently outscored. It was the highest scoring game. But 48-47, Monday night at home in Lambeau. And the guy who used to write a sketch for the News Chronicle, Leahy, he had a great there it is. And you see the ball going. And he said the only explanation is that one half of Lambeau Field exhaled while the other half inhaled and just moved the ball out.
Kaufman talked about that game to us, didn't he?
Who?
Paul Kaufman.
Yeah. It was one of the most amazing things ever. Also, pre-Favre, number 3, hello, Don Mikowski against the Bears. Line of scrimmage, over the line of scrimmage, no touchdown. Let's look at it again. Wait, actually, touchdown. Packers win. Mike Ditka, eternally furious to this day. Makes him madder than talking about Democrats. Number 2 is a really memorable play, and it shows how different media is. So I am sitting at home. Packers are playing in Lambeau Field. Old blackout rules apply. And now we're sitting in the front yard, actually kind of sitting on the roof. and we're listening to the game on the radio against the Raiders. And I think I've said this before, right? You'd hear the play on the radio, and then you'd wait for the cheer when something good happened. And so the Packers are driving, and I think it's Scott Hunter, and he pitches it to either Mac Lane or Brockington, a little option pitch, and they fumble it into the end zone. And Jack Tatum of the Raiders picks it up and goes 104 yards. I still think it's tied for the longest fumble return out of his end zone, 104 yards, touchdown Raiders. So you're listening to this on the radio, you're listening to the call, and you're just like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden, instead of hearing the cheers, you just hear this, collective groan, 1,001, 1,002, 1,000, as it echoes over from Lambeau Field. So we hear that and we listen to it, but I don't get to see it until the 10 o'clock news that night.
Oh, wow. That's wild.
Where before you'd have had it in 13 seconds, right? By the time, because that's how long it took him to run the field, and you would have had it. So you got to wait all night. And then number one.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Marco Miracle.
It's number one.
Has to be.
Another field goal. Opening day against the Bears. Kick blocked. Alan Page. Markle. Off he goes. Round the corner. Touchdown. Guy still doesn't know how to play football.
It's the one time I thought you were genuinely pissed at me via text when I texted you something about it, and your response was, will you effers just leave this alone? I'm like, yep. Hit a hot button. Sorry.
Those of us that at the time had their whole football existence tied up in Walter Payton, that was a crushing day.
Yeah,
crushing day. So someday, you know what? Someday we should get the guys, my friends that were in the stands that day, to give their recollections of that.
That's a John, Wisconsin right there.
Get Byron, get Todd Teskey, get some of these guys that were there that just this.
That episode of Deeper Roots is coming with you and your guys touring us around some of these hot spots.
I don't know that these guys, I don't know that we can divulge the exact location of Pete's Beats. It's okay to know kind of where it is.
That's the one that comes to mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, man.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe, God, I hope she lives a long and wonderful life. She's 82 in the picture of health. So maybe when my mother passes away at the ripe old age of 102, then we can revisit. Some of these things are going to need to stay in the vault for a little longer.
For a little while longer. All right. Hopefully a lot longer. Yeah. All right. Let's go back down memory lane. More stories with Magic himself, Don Mikowski. Let's go.